How's it going, everyone? And today, in this episode, we're going to continue on our 1978 Gottieb Dragon. Okay, we're going to get started copying all of our artwork out. I've been kind of kicking around a couple different ways to do this. I could mask all the color off and then shoot the whole thing white. Okay? We can do it that way. And then we can, mask off all the white and put our colors in. We can do it that way. I'm just not sold on that yet. I'm still debating. Or we take our stencils, I trace out all the artwork, and then lay it on Bristol board and cut the stencil out. Now, what we do, if I do it that way, is I cut all the blue out, leaving the red in, cut all the blue, and then lay our stencil up on there and paint everything blue. And then what we can do is we put our blue back in, the blue that we cut out, put it back in and cut out all of our red, taping all of our seams so we don't get any red, orange, whatever color you want to call it. It's more of an orange to me. Tape the blue back in, cut out all of our orange, and then shoot all the orange. And that will give us our complete picture. I don't know if I said it, but starting out, paint the whole cabinet white. Probably didn't say that, but that's what we'll do. We'll paint the whole cabinet white after copying everything. And then we can do as I said. I kind of like that way better because I hate painting and then taping over top of fresh paint, because it takes a long time for the paint to cure and adhere long enough for you to put tape on it, because if you pull tape off of it, then it's just going to pull your color off, and then you're back to the brush touching everything back up. No, I think we're going to take the stencil method and just stencil everything in. We'll get a little bit of a fuzz on the edges, just like this is. You have kind of a fuzz around the edges. That's just the way stencils work. I'll lay it down and I'll pin it down as tight as I can and paint it. So I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to stencil it in. So let me get started. As you can see, I got started. I'm putting my tracing paper down. I'll do one whole sheet of nothing but this side. And then we can start drawing in all of our artwork. And we'll get that all done. Then we can sit down and see if we can't cut our fingers off with an X-Acto knife, cutting it out on Bristol board. What do you think? Is that going to be the plan? So far, that's the way I am leaning doing it. I think I can get a little better result doing it that way. Because like I said, once you paint, you're going to have to let this sit for at least 4 days to let that paint totally cure before you can put any tape on fresh paint. I think that's the plan. So let's go ahead and start getting this all covered in tracing paper so we can trace out our art. And the thing we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to do a side at a time. We're not going to be able to stand set this up on the block and sit there and paint both sides, you know, on the front and everything. So this is going to be a long process. Hopefully I'm able to get far enough along that I can keep these episodes one right after another, but I'm not going to hold my breath. It's going to take me a while to do all of this, so there may be some other things in between, so kind of bear with me. We'll get this done. So let's get started. I'm about halfway through the copying all the side art here. I'm all the way down to about here. And all I got to do is finish up this little area. I'm still not sure if my idea how I'm going to paint this back in is going to work or not. Because there's going to be some tricky areas. Like when you have just a little sliver here to put back together. There's some ones that are even worse, like this one. You're just going to have a little bitty sliver. You're going to have to try and hold that down. Well, no, that'll be in the red, so that'll be okay. But I don't know. We're gonna find out here. We're gonna get it all painted white anyway, after I get it all traced out, and then we'll see how it's gonna work on cutting it out and putting it back on. Gonna be a little tricky, but I think we'll get it. May have to do something a little different, but we'll see. Let me finish getting this all traced out, and then we can start doing some body work on this side cabinet, on the side of the cabinet, and get it shot white. Now we got it all copied, got all the artwork copied. Now we can take off our tracing paper and start working on the cabinet. What's nice is I only have to do this once. The side, and then all you have to do is take it right over and use the back side, put it on, and you have your artwork for the other side. Same with the front. Trace out one side and then flip it over and it matches the other side. So that's one good thing anyway. So now what we need to do is get this tracing paper off and start working on the cabinet, getting it all smoothed out so we can paint it. one side ready. And now my jukebox is going to play. At random, it plays. So we got this side ready, and now we have to get the other side ready. Okay, as you can see, this side's a lot worse than the other side we just did. Got a pretty big gouge out of it here. But that's okay. We'll get her done. Let me get this masked off, and we'll get this one filled in and get it sanded down and ready to paint. Base coat is done. We got the base coat all done on it. I think I only had one or two oopses on it. Let me back you up a little bit. There's that side. The front, I got one little oops in there, but the lockdown bar will cover that, so we're okay there. Let me spin that around in the sun. There's the other side. My other oops was right there. My finger had a mind of its own. It pressed the button before I wanted it to. so we got a little dookie there, but that'll be fine. That one, hell, I may not even screw with it. It's fine, if you ask me. You know, it's not perfect, but it's going to be 10 times better than what it was. There's still a few little divots in it here and there, you know, and some scratches, but yeah, you know, you can spend a week on a cabinet trying to make it perfect and still not be perfect. So it's gonna look good, you know. I guess it's gonna be another one of them social distancing cabinets where they look great from 6 foot away. But no, it's going to turn out nice. I like the base coat, nice and white. That's the color it was supposed to be, or used to be, should say. So now what I am doing, hi you furball. So now what I'm doing is I'm cutting out stencils so we can get our artwork back in. It's going to be a little tricky. I'm going to do the blue first. This is our blue here and here. But you can see where my page split. I have to cut that out. But I think what's going to happen here, let me get the top piece and throw it on the floor. Is that the right one? Well, no. Yeah, it is. There we go. Okay, and then our next piece to do our blue will be this corner out here, and then what I can do is just tape them together here and be able to put it onto the cabinet. It's going to work out. I'll as I put the stencil and get everything all cut out and start laying it out, I'll show you what's going to happen. We're not going to cut the red out. We'll leave the red in, just cut the blue out first, and then we can paint the blue. And then what we can do is set our blue back in on the stencil, tape all the seams, and then cut the reds out and paint the red. I think that's how I'm going to be able to do it. We're going to find out. Either that or we're going to be drawing it in and painting it by hand. Paint by numbers. 1 is white, 2 is blue, 3 is red. So let me continue to cut the stencils out, and it's going to take me quite a while to do stencils, get them all cut out, so that's good because that'll give our base coat a chance to dry. I may not even be able to start laying stencils on the base coat until tomorrow, which is good. I'd like to let that set up for 24 hours before I start screwing with anything. I don't want anything sticking to it, and I don't want anything screwing up on it. I might still paint this sucker by hand. A lot of work painting by hand. Spraying over stencils is the way to go. You know, a couple of spritzes and you got her all colored in. So we'll see what happens. Alright, let me continue to cut stencils out and get them ready, and we'll let this base coat cure real well. Real well? Real good. Real well. Okay, now the stencil's all cut and laid out for our blue. And what I'm doing is to try and cut down on some of the feathering, is I'm going to weight the edges down. You can see there I have these security plates that come off of some of the video games, and I can just go along and lay them down along the edges and where it's really kind of sticking up, and that'll cut down on some of our, see, like there, that's really bad. Let me put that, a couple of these guys in there, and we can pin it down, because you can't tape. So I'll get this all laid down, and some of the small areas I'll use, some nuts and washers. Same thing, just to pin everything down so we can. So it will cut down on some of the overspray underneath the stencil. I'm going to try and spray from, from up top down. If you shoot on an angle, you're going to hit underneath. You're going to force it under. At least if you're spraying downward, it's not as bad. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. May have to sand it all down and put another base coat on it. So let me get finished up pinning all this down the way I like it, and then we'll shoot some blue on it and see how it's going to turn out. Now, I screwed up. Guess what I didn't do? I didn't wet sand this down before I shot the blue on it. So now all my blue is lifting. Oh man. That's what happens when you get old. Forget to do a step, and now you have more work for yourself. So now I got to wait for this to cure up about a day or so, and then I can wet sand it down and reshoot the blue. The real whatever you want to call it. Okay, the real bitch is going to be lining it all back up. Well, it's my own damn fault. I did it. And that is, it's lifting because I didn't sand between coat. I should have sanded this. I should have wet sanded it down, and then it would have stuck. But on that gloss finish, it didn't. And like it's the same paint, same kind of paint. It's not like I used two different kinds of paint. And if I would have done it a little earlier while the white was still a little bit, not totally cured, it probably would have been all right, but nope. So now, got more work for myself. All right, now I'm going to have to let this set up, and then I can get it wet sanded back out and redo it. Fun, fun, fun. Got my dragon all done and my little blue balls, the dreaded blue balls. Now I am mapping out and cutting out stencils for the red. You can see there's our dragon in there. And like I said, now I'm just mapping out and cutting stencils for our red. And we'll be able to do the red on this side. And what's nice is doing it this way, now I have two stencils. I have our stencil for our blue, for our dragon, and our blue balls. And then I'll have the stencil for the red. So when I flip this over to do the other side, all this work will be done. And all I have to do is flip it over and tape it down on the other side, paint the dragon in. And same with the red, take it over, paste it on the back side, and we'll have our red. We'll have our flames and everything done in. A lot of work, but you get one side done, you have them both. We'll have a little bit of cleanup to do then afterwards, just to kind of tidy things up, maybe touch up a few areas, but it's not going to be much. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to clear coat it so we don't have all these little edges. So we'll get it all clear coated then afterwards and gonna make it look nice. So let me finish getting my stencils cut out and I'll show you. Oh, here I got one blue ball coming through my stencil here. What I did was I cut that stencil out and I cut that blue ball out to give me a reference point to get this one started in here, because this one's big. I mean, there's a lot of cutout in it. There's not much of a stencil in there as far as the white goes, and I drew in his nose a little bit here so I could line that piece up, because this piece here is just kind of floating. You know, it's not attached to anything. But once I get everything all done through here and start getting everything, I can tape everything together and make one big stencil like I did over here for our dragon. So let me work on getting the rest of the stencil cut out, and then I'll show you once I have it all ready to be painted. I don't know if I showed you on the last one that I did, that I made stencils for Monte Carlo. I don't know if I showed you how I do them or not. You know, you've seen the tracing. I trace them out, and then hope you're going to be able to see some of this anyway. And then what I do, X-Acto knife, and I just cut that little beggar out of there. Very time consuming. You gotta keep your blade straight too. Sometimes I have a tendency to want to lay my blade down a little bit. Just about spent. I was just about ready. You're gonna have to take a break because my finger, that one, you know, indentation. Okay, all I gotta do is I gotta cut this out so it fits on the pinball machine on the cabinet, and then we'll take it over and set it up on there. And we got that little notch cut out up there. Take him over here. And see, it fits right up in there. Like so. That gives us our flame. Flaming red. Okay. Now all I got to do is finish up. Got a few pieces here and a couple over here, and we'll get her all tidied up and ready to go. Got it all weighted down. All put together. A nice little puzzle all put together. Got my edges weighted. We're ready to put on the red. Get the red on this, and this side will be pretty much done. Except for a little bit of cleanup and maybe a wet sand and then a clear coat. We'll see. Alright, let's get some red on this thing.